Hi, welcome to Teenager. I'm Laurent Timmermans, and in this video we'll be discussing your personal tax. Your personal residency is a really important question to ask yourself when you are deciding to go for an international structure for yourself and for your company. Now, in this video, I will really try to explain you on the perspective of an entrepreneur. So I'm not trying to explain to tax advisors how residency work, okay? If you are a tax advisor, like, stop watching now because you will learn nothing. But if you are an entrepreneur, this will be really interesting for you to just stay tuned and look at the entire video. This is part of a series of 3 videos I will be discussing about. First, I will do five things you should know about international taxation. That's the first video, so if you didn't watch it yet, maybe start with this one. The second video is this one on your personal residency, and the third video is on company residency, for you to understand where is your company resident. Okay, so also to facilitate the overall experience here, I decided to create a small PowerPoint so that you can follow, because it's a dry material, let's be honest. So it will help you to actually follow the whole presentation if we have this slideshow. So I will disappear really soon and you will see my screen. The other things to know about this video is that it doesn't come out of nowhere, okay? As always, I have some good sources here. I'm inspiring myself from a book called The International Tax Primer. I will put the description below. It's a really slim yet extremely not fun book to read, but it gives you all the knowledge you need about international tax if you never did anything about international tax. So it's quite a slim book, but extremely boring. I'll put it in the description. The second, the 2 other sources is the double tax treaty convention models from the OECD and the UN. Okay, so it doesn't go into the specifics of different jurisdictions, but it gives you an overall overview of how residency is generally defined. Now, be careful. If you really decide to do something about it, you need to look at your specific jurisdictions for yourself, your company, where you live, where you come from, what's your citizenship, etc. Where are you tax resident? So in this video, I will try to answer this question. Now, it's quite a broad question, to be honest, and depending on why you are watching this video, you might have different motivation and you might be looking for different kind of information. Now, the way I'm building this video, the way I'm creating this content, is looking at it on an entrepreneurial perspective of people having international business and looking for leaving their country, the initial country of residence, and living somewhere else. Most of the time, I would say this would be the case of digital nomads, for example, that would choose to live in a less costly, less expensive place around the world, or with more favorable taxation system. But then what's happened at that moment? If they decide to start to live in Southeast Asia, for example, what will happen to them in their country of origin? You know, how are they still resident there or not? So this is the kind of question we'll try to answer in this short video. Now, if you have a specific case, if you are in this situation, you are leaving your country and go somewhere else and would like to get advice about taxation, I really advise you to go see a tax accountant or a tax lawyer and ask directly your question in your local jurisdictions. This video is just for information purpose. Don't use that to create your own plan. Okay, go see local authorities. As I said in my other videos, if you didn't see it, well, I did a video on the 5 things you should know about international taxation. If you didn't see it, go see it first. I think it will be better. Taxation is really complicated, so you better go and see local accountant to help you. The first thing that we'll look at is the key relevant factors. So when we look at international taxation, and in this case specifically the tax residency of individuals, what are we looking at? What is important to consider? The first one would be the location of the person, income producing activity. So where are you making your money? So if you're an employee, where do you work and where you receive your paycheck? If you're an entrepreneur, where is your business and where are you making your money? If you have several business in several locations, where do you produce most of your money? That would be the question. Or if you have several holding an operating company, then ultimately where is this money going? Okay. Two, the location of the person's family. So where is your family staying? Because you could be in one place and then your family is somewhere else, and then at that moment this could be an argument to say that you are the resident of the country where your family resides, because you plan to go and see your family, unless you are divorced and maybe your kids are grown up, or at charge of your wife or your husband. At that moment, yeah, we can argue. But if you're still whole with your family, then at that moment the location of your family will be important here. The third thing will be the social ties to the country. So you do have where do you have your gym membership, your club membership, if you are doing I don't know, golf club, yacht club, even football club and things like that. Where do you have your memberships? Where do you have your bank account / bank accounts? Where do you pay your phone bills? Your driver license, where was it issued? This kind of thing. So many different elements that could show that you have some ties to a certain country. The fourth thing that you want to look at is your visa and your immigration status. So what's your immigration status say? What's your visa say? So for example, Thailand just released a visa that is quite interesting. It's called the Elite Visa, and it enables people to stay in Thailand for, I think, is as long as they want. They're kind of resident of Thailand with these visa, but it was issued by the Office of Tourism. And in order to boost tourism and people coming to Thailand, it's really a tricky visa, because I'm not really sure. It's not issued by the immigration of Thailand, so I'm not really sure if you have to defend your case against a Western European country that claim you're a resident of that country, and you say, no, I have this elite visa from Thailand, and they see that it's actually kind of a long tourist visa. I'm not sure it's gonna work actually. No, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know, but I personally wouldn't risk it. But yeah, I know some people are doing it. The fifth one would be the actual physical presence in the country. So where are you actually staying? Where do you live? Another interesting thing to look at is the key presumption. So if one day you have to go and defend your case, or you want to explain your case to a tax lawyer, tax advisor, or yeah, your taxman, this is the kind of argument they will be making. So if you stay 183 days in the same country, normally you will be a resident of that country, unless maybe you don't have any dwelling in this country. Okay, you just pass by and stay in a lot of hotels, for example. I don't know. Yeah, so in general, this rule is pretty well known by people. So if you stay 183 days in the same countries, sorry, you could be considered a resident. So 183 days in 1 year period. Two, you have a dwelling in the country. At that moment, you will almost automatically be considered resident, unless you also have a dwelling in other countries. And at that moment, yeah, you can start to argue. The third one is citizens are resident of the country of citizenship, unless they have a dwelling somewhere in another country. They have a dwelling somewhere, or they live outside the country for more than 183 days a year, which is basically my case here. So I'm a Belgian citizen, but I'm living in Hong Kong way more than 183 days a year. I'm like 300 days a year in Hong Kong. So this rule would apply to me, for example. The fourth rule, not rule, sorry, the fourth presumption is individuals that are domiciled in a country could be considered resident of that country. So if you have your domicile in a country, you would be considered a resident of that country. I think it's pretty clear, no need to explain there, it's quite self-explanatory. The fifth one, people absent of the country but that intend to come back are still considered resident. Now, what is that? Is imagine the case of students that go for 1 year exchange, even 2 years studying somewhere. They will not be considered resident of that country. They are still considered resident of the country of origin. Or what I said before, tourism. If you stay a few months as a tourist somewhere, you still have this intention of coming back, you obviously are still resident of your country of origin. This is why it's pretty tricky for these digital nomads that decide that until now that didn't establish any residency anywhere. It becomes really dangerous because then the country of origin will use this argument saying, yeah, but look, yeah, you travel all around the world, but eventually you plan to come back to a country of resident, and at the end of the day you're a citizen as well. So unless you have a dwelling, so this is the rule number 3, unless you have a dwelling somewhere, I mean, you're still supposed to be a resident of that country. The sixth one is individuals resident in one country cannot relinquish the status unless they establish clearly residency in another country. So what that means is that you cannot not be a resident, so lose your residency in your current country of residency, for example, before you get your residency somewhere else. Okay, so when I left Belgium, for example, I went in Hong Kong and I registered myself here in the consulate, and I have my working visa, and I'm working here. I was working here and I was paying my tax, and then at that moment, I could inform the authorities of Belgium and say, look, I'm not resident of Belgium anymore, I'm resident of Hong Kong. And then at that moment they will not really argue because it's true. I mean, it's the way it is. 7, individuals that have a status of resident / non-resident for visa immigration purpose might be presumed to have the same for income tax purpose. So imagine you have a working visa in Hong Kong because you're supposed to work here and live here and pay your tax here. Under the visa, you have that kind of visa, so you're supposed to be resident here. So that means what? That means you're supposed to pay your tax here in Hong Kong as well on this income. Okay, you cannot have a working visa but then say, look, oh yeah, I'm working here but I'm paying my tax in Germany or in Belgium. This is not the way it works. Although this one is true that for some cases with expat it's still arguable, but I won't get into the details there. Another thing interesting is to look at double taxation treaties and the way they are constructed, and the way these treaties arbitrate between two or several countries that try to claim that an individual is their resident. So what we are using here is the tax treaty model from the OECD and the one from the UN. And the criteria I gave you before were all, they didn't have any orders, you can just argue. But these one, they come into what we call tiebreakers. So if two countries are trying to determine whether you are a resident of country A or country B, they will look at these 4 tiebreakers. The first one is the place where the individual has a home. So where is the home of that individual? The second is the country where the individual has his vital center of interest. So what is the vital center of interest? Is where you have your business or where you have your family. Okay, it could be both or both together. Okay. The third one will be the place of the individual habitual dwelling. So where do you actually live? Okay, where do you have your actual place to live and where you spend your time? And the fourth one will be your country of citizenship. So at the end of the day, if let's say you're a digital nomad and you are quite young and you don't have any real estate, so you didn't buy anything back in your home country, so you have no home, your country of your you don't have family, so you're not married, no kids, so or they are with you, so yeah, it's not really clear. Your business is in different locations, so you can't really determine where is your vital center of interest. And let's say you don't stay anywhere for more than 1.5 months, 2 months, in a 1 year period. So basically, like what happened in this case? Well, at that moment, what's happening is that your country of citizenship can say, well, but then you are a resident of our country, because the citizenship will win. So no matter how you look at it, eventually you still need to pledge allegiance to a country and pay your tax there. So it's a good idea to choose your country, especially if you decide to leave a high tax country to live in Southeast Asia or Panama or Costa Rica, South America in general, things like that. These, I'm just coming up with these famous location. It's a good idea to see how can you clarify a residency. Okay, as I'm saying quite often is you should choose your residency before your residency chooses you. And that would be my conclusion, I would say. Be really careful when you try to internationalize yourself and your business. Make sure that you take these residency, personal residency, into consideration in the equation, and smartly think of the whole problem in a holistic manner. Now, I made other videos on the topic. There is one that, as I said at the beginning of this video, you should maybe watch first, is the 5 things you should know about international taxation. So if you didn't see it yet, I advise you to have a look at it. Now, the second video that you could look at is a video that will talk about residency, but not of the individuals, the residency of the company. Okay, so check that video and you will learn also some interesting things like this one. So if you have your business, I really advise you, an international business and you travel a lot, I really advise you to watch that video. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, then show it. I mean, put a thumbs up. This really help. And if you like the kind of content you see on this channel, please subscribe to the channel so that you will receive ongoing updates. Now, be careful that I'm not a really heavy poster. So generally what I do, I post a whole bulk of video all at once every month or 2 months. So I really advise you to press the bell on these YouTube channels so that you will receive updates when I post. Otherwise, YouTube will just make my channel disappear in your feed. Okay, so see you soon.